Mic check. Can you hear me in the meeting? Mic check. Good morning, Ahmed. Can you hear us? Good morning, Ahmed. Can you hear us? Check. Mic check. It's on. This mic is on. We're testing the mic. Turn it off now? Okay.
Good morning, everyone. And due to some technical difficulties, which I guess we're still evaluating, and the tech team is working on it. Apologize for the delay and the interruption so far. However, this is the regional council chamber, and there are some issues at the back end, some hardware-related issues. So in the event if the volume is not there, the recording will be uploaded after the meeting. So I'll proceed in the event if anyone is missing. This is open session, as anyone is welcome to come here in person, but the video will be uploaded. So we are into the public portion of the Police Services Board meeting. I'll begin with the meeting of February 24, 2023. Roll call, we have all members here except Vice Chair Samira Kohli. and Mr. Atia is participating this virtually in this meeting. Do we have any declaration of conflict of interest? Seeing, hearing none. Before we move into the chief's update, I wanted to provide some information on the Auto Theft Summit taking place on Friday, March 10th, 2023 at the Toronto Airport Marriott Hotel. A lot of work has already gone into ensuring the Auto Theft Summit utilizing expertise from partners associated with the auto theft across Ontario and across our borders. The chief and the deputy and his team are working closely. Deputy Milonovich and his team are working closely with the other police services to ensure we have the most up-to-date information on auto theft and carjackings. We will also tap into the knowledge from our partners and stakeholders that have been invited to attend, including police service across GTHA, the OPP members from the Montreal Police, the CBSA, Toronto Pearson Airport, representatives from the auto manufacturing industry, as well as the insurance industry to leave the summit with a plan to work collaboratively on preventative and enforcement measures to ensure our communities know we are doing everything possible to deal with this problem. We are also pleased that the summit is generating interest beyond those directly part of prevention and enforcement. For those that want to follow along, we will be live streaming the summit via WebEx. We will be providing more information, including an agenda and a link to the live stream in the next week or so. A very special thank you to everyone involved in the planning process so far. We'll move on to the next item, which is Chief's update. Chief, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, Board. We have one update only this morning, and that'll be Deputy Chief Andrews.
Thank you, Chief. Through the Chair, good morning. As part of our response to the rise in vehicle thefts, we have a number of proactive and prevention and suppression projects that are occurring across the region. I wanted to bring to the attention of the Board one of those projects that occurred in 12th Division. Our office has responded to a situation at Dixie and Matheson, and as a result, arrested 4 males from Montreal, seized 23 not reprogrammers, but key fobs, master key fobs, reprogrammer and break and enter instruments, and laid 105 charges. I wanted to highlight this work because we're doing these projects across the region, and they are having an impact. We're also educating our local community on what to look for, and this was a direct result of that work in the prevention and sort of risk mitigation space and education space with our local business community. As a matter of fact, the officers had just gone to this location, educated them about what to look for, left and got the call to reattend. Subject to questions?
Thank you, Chief. Are there any board member question or announcements? Chair Unica?
Thank you. We spoke earlier and I was asking the chief and the team here. Yesterday at Regional Council, Councillor Parrish brought up the concern about stunt racing in malls, and one in particular, and she showed us a video of a really egregious situation in one of the communities. Other councillors mentioned it's happening sporadically in other areas as well. And to their credit, the councillors also mentioned they know the PRP's done a great deal of work on the file and continues to, but they asked me and they asked the 2 mayors and I to bring it up today, maybe show you the clip that they were speaking to, and as a the council was great in saying we've worked so well with all the divisions to help us, but just to reinforce and reinvigorate our best efforts and maybe to communicate back today, Chief, of where we're at and what we're doing. And the point was made, it's the dead of winter and it's not as bad now. The second the summer comes, it's probably going to get worse. So just where we are on the files and what we're doing to redouble our efforts. So towards, if I could add it on the agenda at the end of the public session, maybe if we could see the clip, if hopefully it works, and then Chief and the team can tell us, here's where we're at on the file and the work that we know that you're doing on that cause. Thank you.
So do we have the clip now, or?
Yeah, but I think we should leave it till the end of the formal session.
Okay, sure. Mayor Crombie?
Well, it was on that issue. I mean, do we just want to deal with it now since you've raised it, or do you want to deal with it at the end? And then I wanted to make a comment about Mark's presentation as well.
I leave it to the chair. I know we have a deputant, and I was happy to put it as the final item. I'm in the chair's hands.
We can, I think, play it now, so
Okay.
it's ready, so.
Thank you, and I want to make I have some questions on it as well, and comments.
Mayor Crombie?
Thank you. So the first one was obviously a summer setting, so I think it was last summer of 22. This one obviously had snow. I know one of them was a mall in Malton, but we have other councillors, not only Councillor Parrish, who I understand was on the radio talking about this issue today, Councillor Mahoney in Ward 8, and also in Heartland. That mall's been affected. Port Credit, there's been street racing. I know that Peel Police has done great work, but I wonder if we can talk about next steps and how to prevent this. I know Mayor Brown in our previous session talked about incidents up in Brampton as well. So this isn't isolated to any one area. We see this everywhere in GTA, but it's something that, you know, we want to discuss about next steps. And do we bring all the mall owners together and talk about strategy? Would it be helpful if there were more, you know, cement islands or divisions or cement partitions in those malls? And how do we prevent this kind of behavior? I mean, you know, it's not only dangerous to those present, but also the homeowners in the residential areas in and around are quite concerned about behavior as well. It's obviously stunt driving, and we've seen not only that, but also road racing. And even though our project Erase has gone a long way to addressing it, I wonder if we can talk about steps that can be put in place to address this kind of stunt driving in our malls where there's a lot of open space in the evenings, because obviously they're not as busy in the evening other than those that have restaurants on their pads. You know, we've talked about barriers, but you know, barriers also make it harder to clear snow, etc. But anyways, we would welcome any advice or advice on how to proceed with next steps to curb this behavior, or actually, I should say, eliminate this behavior. So welcome some input. And I know you've made some headway into some arrests, and maybe perhaps now that we're in public open session, we can talk about that too. Please.
Thank you, Mayor Crombie. Chief, you want to comment?
Thank you through the chair. And Your Worship, you're absolutely right. And Chair Yanika, I think we agree that the opportunity now is to bring people together collaboratively. I'd like to, you know, of course, thank Regional Council for bringing this forward as a priority issue. We're about to head into spring. In the summer, we know that the opportunities for this is going to increase. Without a doubt, the incidents that you've seen have had a lot of our attention. I think Deputy Andrews is going to speak to it. From an enforcement standpoint, we've got a variety of different things that I think Mark can speak to. we have a collaborative program with York, Toronto, Halton, and all the GTA services that includes sometimes using air support and a variety of things. But as you know, this is a common occurrence in a lot of open, empty spaces where, you know, the thought of giving them an alternative place to go to, you know, for those that are constructive, they may take advantage of it. But as we know, part of the thrill of it is compromising a place that, you know, the public would like to be, whether it's an intersection or a parking lot. We're a proponent of, you know, finding collaborative solutions with the property owners. I know that Councillor Parrish has been working with Deputy Andrews and Superintendent Higgs with the property management to look at solutions. You know, ultimately, we're looking at displacing them to another location. So a unified approach across the municipalities would be a favorable thing. But perhaps, Mark, a couple of updates as we prepare to get into. And you're right, Your Worship, Peel Police is absolutely committed to eliminating that in any of our lots. Not only does the video make your, you know, it makes your heart, you know, race a little bit because you're thinking there's pedestrians, other people. We've seen injuries from this occur before. But perhaps, Mark, you want to speak to that?
Thank you, Chief. Just to the Chief's point and to the Mayor's point, you know, street and parking lot takeovers are not limited to the region. There's a particularly egregious video that was circulating this weekend from an incident down in Austin, Texas, that you may want to take a look at, where there was an intersection takeover that was quite aggressive in nature. In our own local set of circumstances here, we continue to work with the mall owner and with Councillor Parrish and other elected officials in that area to utilize CPTED, crime prevention through environmental design, to make the space less attractive to this kind of behavior. Having said that, you know, prevention and suppression go hand in hand with enforcement. Just this past weekend, we laid 3 stunt driving charges, arrested 3 individuals and seized their vehicles, and we laid 32 highway traffic act charges in that location. That's not going to solve the problem because it'll displace the problem, but we, as the Chief referenced, we continue to ramp up for the spring and summer season, where we will be starting up our Raise and Noisemaker programs, working with our local partners and the Ministry of the Environment to take vehicles off the road that are involved in this sort of behavior.
So this is just one incident, this video, but we know that it's occurring in other places as well, Heartland and Erin Mills Town Center. We know of that one as well, and in Port Credit. I wonder if it would be an opportunity to get those mall owners in a room and talk to them about how they can better protect themselves. I mean, I think we really want some next steps coming out of our meeting today to give assurances to the residents and to the councillors responsible, because they're feeling, you know, obviously they want this to stop and act on behalf of their residents.
Your Worship, I think what we will do is actually, I think to that point is we'll absolutely, I'll chat with Mark. If we can coordinate a discussion with the large property management companies, even if we have to parse them off and do them in different sessions, and bring representatives from both municipalities and the councillors.
I mean, there are some similarities in ownership, right? There's some.
Particularly even if we look at opportunities for what bylaws might be able to be done, but we would absolutely take that away. It's a great opportunity to do that now before the weather gets really, really better.
Well, weather didn't seem to be an impediment, as we saw from the last video, the snow that was, ice that was piled up in the corner of that particular parking lot, which I didn't think was Westwood, because the earlier video was the Malton location. I don't know which mall that was.
No, I don't know either to which one that was, but I think to your point is it doesn't take a lot of space to be able to utilize for the type of activity that they're doing. So we may never mitigate all of it, but we can certainly do the ones that are the frequent places that we've seen it. But Mark.
Chair
And
Yanika?
I wanted to repeat again, Councillor Parrish went out of her way to thank the service for everything that's been done. And one of the properties, I think she identified it was Fieldgate, and they're excellent corporate citizens, as we all know, and she said, and they've been great at trying to be part of the solution as well. So I wanted to make those 2 points
And
as
they're
well.
open to all
Thank you.
suggestions, working with police to, stop this behavior. But, Councillor Parrish raised this yesterday, but this is not new, and other councillors have raised it in the past, and we just need solutions. So, Mark, did you want to
We'll take that away. Yeah.
take away and come back with some concrete next steps, please? That'd be great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other question or announcement by any board member? Seeing, hearing none. The next item we have is the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on Friday, January 27, 2023. Board members, any question or comment? If not, then looking for a mover and seconder. Moved by Chair Yanika, seconded by Mr. Boughton. All in favor? This is carried unanimously. And now we move on to the deputations. We have a virtual deputation today by the We Are Community Group on the topic of online reporting incidents of hate crime. The speaker today includes Mr. Shahbaz Altaf, Mr. Fahad Munir, and Mr. Ahmed Hassan. Is everything is good with your microphone? Okay, so you may proceed. A reminder that you have 5 minutes, and I will let you know when there is about a minute left to go. Please proceed.
Good morning, Chair and the members of the Peel Police Service Board. My name is Shahbaz Altaf, and I represent the non-profit organization We Are Community. Our presentation today is about how to easily report hate crime incidents. Currently, the hate crimes are reported in person by visiting a local police station, and one can imagine all sorts of challenges associated with that on both police and those who need to make their way to a police station. More importantly, it takes a lot of officer precious time to gather the information and takes the longest time to do so than actually helping the victims. In our opinion, victims of hate crimes are less likely to report their victimization this way, but if an online portal is available to them to report the hate crime, that will aid in identifying the nature of such acts. In the digital market today, that is the most effective way of efficiently and accurately capturing the information that through the online portal. Right now, the Peel police have the online portal to report any incidents of non-emergency nature, and we are suggesting and recommending that if Peel police also available the online reporting of the hate crime incidents, and we have the example of the Hamilton police, and they have the online portal where the such incidents of hate crime can be reported online. The expanding of the online incidents of hate crime will provide more information to the Peel police to act upon and to see, like, where these hate crimes are occurring in the region of Peel. There are some factual information that I would like to share that from the Hamilton police report since they implemented the online reporting of the hate crimes. The expanding of the online reporting, Hamilton police experienced a 25% increase in online reporting from 2019 to 2020. Over the past 10 years, the average number of reported hate crime is approximately 128 per year, and it had been increased since then. So in our opinion, that the Peel Region Police, if they can accommodate that the online incidents of hate crime, it will easily make it more accessible to those victims, that they can go online and report these incidents of hate crimes. The online reporting of these incidents will further enhance the efforts, as the data will be available on those hate crimes as well, and it will be very easier to pinpoint where these incidents are happening, and more incidents will provide more information to the Peel Police, and they will be more helpful for those victims in future, and also for those people who are committed those hate crimes, as there will be more data and more incidents will be reported to the Peel Region Police.
Mr. Altaf, you can continue, but you have about a minute, less than a minute to go. Thank you.
Yes. So basically, this is our presentation. I have nothing else to add on for now. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Thank you for your presentation. If there's any question by anyone, you're more than welcome. If not, I'd like to have a mover to receive the deputation by Mr. Boughton. Do we have a seconder for this? By Mayor Crombie. All in favor? This is carried unanimously, and your deputation has been received. Thank you for your deputation today.
Okay, thank you.
And okay, thank you. Chief, one comment? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. And I think it's an opportunity to affirm, our position here in Peel is to take hate incidents and hate crimes we've been dealing with in the last week extremely seriously. So, we're always open to finding ways to increase people's willingness to report. So, clearly, I think Mark DePat, we can chat about it. And just for the board's awareness, in Peel, we don't have it as we have online reporting for hate through Peel Crime Stoppers. And it's almost the identical of what Hamilton has on their website. It's just connected through a different link. But we could look at opportunities here. But Mark, I think we're heavily focused on human-centric contact with people. We think it's important. But Mark, maybe you want to discuss that.
Thank you, Chief, and through the chair. It is definitely acknowledged that having mechanisms for the members of our community, particularly here in our region, to be able to report hate-motivated crimes and hate crimes is something that we're going to look into. The board knows that our annual hate crime report that's presented in June speaks to the fact that often hate crimes, like other crimes, are underreported. And a lot of that is because the mechanism of reporting is often interpreted as not being taken seriously by the police when it comes to these sort of matters. So while we would definitely look at opportunities to encourage more reporting so that we can actually have some accurate information from the community, I would also make sure that everybody is considerate of the fact that we take these matters very, very seriously. And beyond just investigating it, everybody from the communication, the dispatchers that are involved in the generation of the call, all the way up through the road sergeant, all the way up to the duty inspector, are made aware so that the appropriate amount of resources are deployed specifically for that matter, because we all know that it's not specifically just the victim that's traumatized by this hate incident or hate crime, it's the broader community, and we often hear about it afterwards. So that level of service and attention is definitely something that we consider as just as important, as well as also providing opportunities for the community to report it in other means.
Thank you. The next item is 3.1 presentation, Peel Regional Police Fleet on a Green Journey. Chief, would you like to introduce the presenter?
Through the chair, I'll introduce the presenter. Thank you very much. Just to start off, clearly Peel Regional Police has significant capital projects in our new facilities, and much of the priority when it comes to those new facilities is aligning our building projects and our strategies with the regional priorities for climate change and greenhouse emissions. I've invited Director Mark Figueredo, who is the Director of Material Management, to do a presentation to highlight some of the other efforts that Peel Regional Police are doing when it comes to our fleet services and the journey that we've embarked on to support and align our efforts towards that goal. Of course, Mark will get into more detail, but it also highlights from the perspective of the backbone of our membership, our civilian membership, that are contributing very greatly, particularly in fleet services, to support our frontline officers so that they can do their job properly with the proper equipment to serve the community. So thank you, Mark, and over to you.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me okay? Morning. Chair, through you, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for enabling me to present today. And if I may, I would like to thank the board for your vision and support in approving our 2023 capital budget. That budget contains 4 new facilities. And not only will those facilities accommodate our growth, but they are going to be the foundation for our green initiatives. And my presentation today is going to tie very nicely into that, in reference to those buildings, as we discuss our journey to green our fleet. I use the word journey because it's going to be a long road spanning many years. Along that road, we're going to make some small steps and some big steps. But every journey starts with a first step. So let me tell you how we got started. Our Fleet Services Bureau is located in Brampton at the Materials Management Center. It's an 80,000 square foot facility that was built in 2012. It's a full service garage with 30 bays. We have a collision repair center located on site. And in total, we have 886 vehicles in our fleet. In 2019, Regional Council passed a resolution committing to reducing greenhouse gas emissions 45% below 2010 levels by 2030. Now, to give you some perspective, this chart provides you with a high-level view of the region's contributions to greenhouse gas emissions in 2020. Now, the portion in blue shows that Peel Police fleet contributed almost 7,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions to the atmosphere. Now, this is understandable because many of our vehicles are driven 24/7. So for police to align with council's direction, we would need to bring that number down to 4,000 tons by 2030. And this is where our green journey started. Now, coincidentally, that same year, Ford Motors introduced the Interceptor Utility Hybrid Electric Vehicle. We purchased 57 of them, and it represented our first big step in greening our fleet. And this vehicle has had many benefits. First, we're saving up to 35% on our fuel costs. Second, each hybrid vehicle reduces greenhouse gas emissions by 11 tons per year per vehicle. And lastly, we've been able to reduce our preventative maintenance costs because there's less engine hours due to the battery. We've continued to expand our hybrid fleet and now have 117 with more to come this year. So what's next for us? Well, headlines like these are becoming ubiquitous as Canada starts the transition to electric vehicles. In fact, Canada has proposed regulations that all new vehicles sold shall be zero emission by 2035. Many police services like us are starting to think about how we can incorporate electric vehicles in our fleet. Now, electric vehicles have some nice benefits. They're cleaner to run, they're cheaper to fuel, and they're easier to maintain. So although they have a higher upfront cost, the total cost of ownership over the life of the vehicle is theoretically lower. In fact, EVs are almost perfectly designed for police work because they use very little power while idling or driving at neighborhood patrol speeds. But if they need to accelerate, they can accelerate like a sports car. So lots of benefits, but incorporating them into a fleet, especially a police fleet, has some challenges. We would have to figure out how we're going to charge them, and that could be costly. And what about all the police equipment in the car, the radio, the computer, the lights? How would that impact the battery? And at this time, there's actually no police electric vehicle available on the market. This is a big one. Can a police EV make it through a 12-hour shift in minus 30-degree weather in the middle of winter? Electric vehicles are known to lose 30 to 40% of their power on very cold days. So definitely some challenges, but if this is the future, we need to start planning and preparing as soon as possible. In 2021, Ford introduced the Mach-E electric vehicle, and they submitted it for testing at the Michigan State Vehicle Evaluations. Now, although this is not a police package, meaning it's not suitable for commercial use, it did pass all the police testing requirements. So we decided to buy 4 to test in some of our non-patrol areas. Now, this is a really nice story. Last year, we dressed up the electric vehicle for Pride Month. It was a great opportunity for Peel Police to show the community our support for 2 initiatives. First, our commitment to reducing our carbon footprint. And second, our support for Pride. Blue Line magazine is a national law enforcement magazine, and they have an annual Canada's Best Dressed Police Vehicle contest. Peel Police won that contest in the community relations category. The story is going to be their cover story for the upcoming March-April edition of the magazine, which should be out soon. So I mentioned earlier that there's no pursuit-rated police vehicle in the market, but they are coming. Ford, Volvo, Chevy, and Dodge have announced EVs that are coming soon, some as early as next year. So to prepare for that, a major factor that needs to be addressed is the charging infrastructure required for EVs. How many chargers do we need? What type of chargers? Can our facilities handle that electrical demand? And how much is all this going to cost? To get more clarity on that issue, we partnered with the Regional Peel and secured Blackstone Energy Services to conduct this study for us. Now, I'm conscious of your time, so I'm going to summarize 6 months of work and a 75-page report into 2 slides. To conduct this study, we had to look at numerous factors. First, we had to tell them how many of our gas vehicles could potentially be replaced by EVs over the next 7-year period. We had to provide them with the electrical capacity for all our facilities. And last, we had to provide them with the typical operations time and the downtime for all of our vehicles. Because you got to remember, a patrol vehicle is very different than an investigative vehicle and is very different than an admin vehicle. So these were the findings. For 3 of our facilities, namely the headquarters, materials management, and the MLV Cope Center, the vehicles assigned to those buildings are non-patrol vehicles with lower daily mileage. So for these types of vehicles, level 2 chargers are sufficient. So to give you an idea, a level 2 charger has the same output as your stove or your dryer at your home. And they're cheap to install, and they can provide about 50 kilometers of range per hour of charging. But however, things are very different for the divisions. For the divisions, level 3 chargers are required because they're a 24/7 operation. Cars come in, but need to go back out very quickly. Level 3 chargers enable very fast charging. They can charge anywhere from 5 to 30 kilometers a minute, but they come with a very high electrical demand and a very high cost. Now we have to remember our current divisions were not meant for level 3 chargers. So in order to have them operate, significant electrical service upgrades are required, including generators and backup power sources in the event of a power outage. All this would result in exorbitant infrastructure costs. So in light of our facilities plan, which we just talked about earlier, it wouldn't be prudent to invest this level of time, money, and effort into our current facilities. This study provided us with valuable insight because it solidified our decision that we need to look forward and focus on the new buildings approved by the board in our capital plan to build a capacity for electric vehicle transition down the road. So to talk about next steps, in the short term and medium term, we're going to continue to expand our hybrid fleet as they are a fantastic transition vehicle. But while we do that, we are starting to develop a plan for EVs. We are working with our facilities team and we'll focus on the new facilities first because it is much easier and cheaper to install this, to do this type of work in a new build. For the new divisions, based on the information in the study, we're working with our facilities team to determine the best strategy to set us up for a police EV transition down the road in a cost-effective manner. Our goal is going to be to introduce police EVs very cautiously until we are comfortable that they can meet our requirements in the field. At least as soon as a police EV becomes available, we definitely have funding to do some small pilots so that we can test them in a patrol capacity. But we envision a hybrid model with gas and electric vehicles for many years to come. So to sum it up, other police agencies are starting to follow our lead and test electric vehicles. But in terms of longer-term planning for electrifying their fleet, I believe the time we invested in doing the infrastructure study sets us apart from any other police service because we now have the information we need to start preparing for the future. I'll share a couple of nice stories too. Late last year, Ford Motors selected Peel Police to appear in their 2023 police calendar to acknowledge our work in greening the fleet. I should note that we're the only Canadian police service to appear in that calendar. Electric Autonomy Canada is a news platform reporting on Canada's transition to electric vehicles. Last month, they contacted us about showcasing PRP's electric vehicle at their upcoming conference at the Enercare Centre in Toronto. With an expected attendance of 2,000 to 4,000 people, it's a great opportunity to highlight some of the great work we've been doing. As I stated at the beginning of this presentation, this is a journey, and we continue to move forward every day. The planning has started, and the new facilities approved by the board will pave the way. It's about being leaders, but doing it in a well-thought-out manner. If you can indulge me for one more minute, I did want to share two other recent developments that may be of interest to you. In December 2017, Ontario regulation was passed, which requires asset management planning for all municipal assets. The chief committed to Regional Council that he would implement this reporting as soon as possible. As you can see on this slide, we completed this requirement for both fleet and facilities well before the July 2024 deadline. And last but not least, we just finalized a partnership with Chrysler Canada to become an authorized service warranty center. So we often lose vehicles for up to 2 to 3 days, 3 times a week for warranty work. This partnership will let us do the warranty work in-house and bill the parts and labor back to Chrysler. In addition to eliminating the downtime of our vehicles, it also provides us many benefits, including getting access to their sophisticated diagnostic system for vehicle maintenance. We're really excited about this, and I'm proud to say that we're the first we're the first law enforcement agency in Canada to partner with Chrysler on this program. In conclusion, our vision is to be the most progressive, innovative, inclusive police service. And I hope this presentation provides the board with some assurance that we're moving towards that goal in all our bureau, including the administrative ones. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentations. And I see we have a couple of questions. It's really good as the government has announced that by 2035, all the vehicle we have need to be the electrical side. I have a couple of questions. I know the mayor wants to talk about it.
Chair, if I can just respond to that. We're still trying to find out if police are exempt from that. We've contacted the ministry. We haven't got clarification yet because that announcement just came out, I think, in December. But I would imagine police would be exempt from that deadline, just the nature of our business.
Okay, thank you. On your slide, it's talk about the capacity of the infrastructure. It mentioned Division 11, 12, and 21, and I don't see in regards to 22 and Airport Division.
Yeah, so Airport has they own their own facilities, so it was out of scope for this project, and 22 is scheduled to be as part of our facilities plan want to be replaced
Yes, okay.
at the Sir Robert Peel Center. So we didn't feel it made sense to go in there and look at the infrastructure for a building that's going to be replaced in the next few years as part of the plan.
Just on page number 14 over here, when we talk about the existing electrical capacity, 11 and 12 has less and 21 has more, I assume, because of the infrastructure is new. In 21, it says 2,000 kilowatt we have currently.
It's also shared between the region and the building. And the Peel Police have the same electrical infrastructure. That's why it has more capacity, because it's a shared building.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that information. The first, we have Mayor Brown, and then we have Mr. Boughton after.
Thank you, Chair Chathat. Really glad that we're looking at this green journey for policing. I guess my question is, have we looked at where there might be support from other levels of government? I know that both the provincial and federal governments have elaborate grants now available for charging infrastructure. I know we just got almost all our electric chargers funded through the federal government in an announcement a month ago for all our city fleet. I think it was 175 chargers. On top of that, 2 years ago, we got funding from the federal government through, well, not funding, it's the Canada Infrastructure Bank. It's a loan for every single Brampton Transit bus to be converted into electric. And so as it meets its end of life, it gets replaced with an electric bus. And so I guess, have we examined what funding is available to pay for the chargers, and if there's any mechanisms like that that be available? Because I do believe we should be good examples. If we expect the public to move in this direction, then the government needs to be the first to move. Brampton just ordered its first electric fire truck.
I saw that.
So it's great to see emergency services moving in this direction, and there's a real synergy to what's happening in Peel on this front, and so I'm really excited that the police have thought about this. You know, Stellantis, which is 3,000 jobs in Peel region, starting in 2025, will only be producing electric vehicles. Who would have imagined that? You know, even 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
It's,
Just last week, the Premier was in town to announce Magna will be in Peel region doing an electric battery production facility to service this new green economy, 565 jobs. And so I think there's a real synergy of the police being part of it. But I think the timeline needs to be ambitious. I think we need to be I think in government, we need to be the first movers on embracing technology. So if I asked you this question, so two questions. One, what funding is available, knowing how stretched our police resources are? I want every dollar possible, you know, giving you the tools to get the bad guys. But you know, there may be some funding that's available. And then the second part of the question is, what is the predicted timeline to do a full transformation of the entire fleet?
So I'll answer your first question first. 100% we're Natural Resource Canada. It's the same fund. It's the same place where you got your funding for that electric bus fleet. Where we get 50% back on all the EV infrastructure that's required. So in our new facilities, we're going to be applying for that funding as part of that budget to cover for the EV cost. So we get 50% up to $2 million, but we won't be using $2 million of it in that. So, but other than that, right now, that is the only thing available to us in terms of funding, but it's substantial. 50% is a lot of money, and will help cover the cost for those charges there. Now, I'll answer your question without answering your question, the other one. So I don't know.
Because it's easy to have a symbolic, you know, a few cars.
What's that?
It's easy to have a few symbolic
Absolutely.
transformations, and I think we really have to judge ourselves and be accountable on is when are we doing the full enchilada?
So as soon as the police EV becomes available, you have my commitment. I'll be the first order. I'll be the first order that comes in, but we can't put it out there unless there's a police, I'll call it pursuit rated police vehicles, because it's not safe for the officers. But as soon as one becomes available, our facilities department is working on a very demanding facilities plan. And as much as I'd like to have them work on our existing facilities, the resources aren't there, and it would be significant money. And significant money, like as I tell you, we're talking millions of dollars to upgrade the electrical panel in our divisions to handle level 3 charges. But here's the interesting part: is there's so many variables that are here. We're trying to predict what's going to happen 5 years from now, and this EV battery and charging technology is going to grow exponentially, especially in that looming 2035 deadline. I'll give you an example. So right now, the average EV coming out has about 400 to 500 kilometers of range, more likely in the 4, right? The 2025 Dodge Ram, it's not a police EV, it's going to be a commercial, consumer, retail, I'll call it, 800 kilometers, okay? It won't be long before we see 1,000 kilometers. And when you see that kind of growth, then maybe you don't need level 3 charging. Maybe you can, with a little planning and adding a little redundancy by adding some vehicles, then you can maybe, plan better, because it gives you that range, extra range gives you some planning ability so that you can charge your vehicles up without needing level 3, which is significantly cheaper, right? So, Mayor Brown, to answer your question, I don't know when we're going to go full, but we're definitely leaders in this. No one else, I can honestly say that no other police service is as far as we are in terms of thinking about this and starting to plan for this. You'll see articles where a vehicle has been bought by a police agency. It's more of a marketing, I'll call it. But we are significantly planning for the transition, because at the end of the day, we're a police service. We got to remember that. So we cannot impact service delivery.
Of course.
We have to be very comfortable that this is going to be, and then it's going to be a big culture change. Like, if you have an electric vehicle, it's got some benefits, but it requires planning in order to be used this effectively, especially in a fleet.
And I also hear they're harder to steal, so that might be an advantage.
They're very hard to steal.
On this note, and maybe this is to the chief, just to keep in the back of our mind, we're building new policing infrastructure too. We just had obviously the outlines for the new station in the west end of Brampton. I know there's going to need to be changes at 22. So as we plan for capital, I hope we're incorporating this capacity into all those facilities. I got the price tag for what our new Brampton Transit facility is going to cost because of the electric components. The prices skyrocket.
Yeah.
And so, when you have a few, if you have a few symbolic chargers, it doesn't really change the price dynamic. But once you're doing it on a mass level, it has a volume and a demand and a capacity that changes the price. And so as we're planning the price for that future station or for retrofits of existing stations, be mindful of that, and also know, we haven't announced it yet, but we're going to get a ton of support for our Brampton facility because of support from the federal and provincial government. And so I think this move will open the doorway for some of that funding that we may not have envisioned as a revenue, as a funding source for the police. So I hope that is part of the conversation on facilities as well.
Thank you, Worship. And I think, if we speak to the team here, that's absolutely been factored into our capital budgeting for the new facilities. And I think that's hence why we're putting our sights on the new buildings, absolutely. And I don't know, Rob, or between Rob and Mark, if you want to comment on those elements that are been factored into design.
Yeah, and I was just saying, not planning for 2 or 3. We build those new buildings, we're planning for everything to be electric. I hope we are.
It's a lofty ambition, Mayor, as you know, right? But we're on track. We're on track meeting the region's low carbon pathway, and we'll go step in step with the region's goals.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can elaborate when Rob said the new division and the ops support facility will have the capacity to do full electric vehicle transition fleet. When that happens, once we're, once there's the big step here is there has to be a vehicle available. And once that happens, our new facilities will be future-proofed so that when we're ready to roll out, we can do it. It's not about, hey, we need to now look at our infrastructure. Well, it's there. The rough-ins are there. The chargers will be there. So
yeah. Well, I know Nando at Regional Council is always very eloquent in saying we got to look at the 15,000 feet lens. This is an example of that. I don't think it's a question of if, it's a question of when. And that's why I heard of the auto show this weekend. There's, everyone was saying there'll be a point in the near future where they don't produce traditional cars anymore. It'll only be electric. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Next is Mr. Boughton, and after that, Mayor Crombie.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to take a few minutes here. I don't know if I'm going to ask too many questions, but I want to make a couple of points. So, firstly, when I say what I'm going to say, I don't want you to think that I'm a climate denier, and I'm not. And if you wait out the front when we leave, you'll see the Lincoln Aviator that leaves is a hybrid, and I've been driving one for 3 years. So I'm not one of those guys who's going to throw negatives out and not be a believer in what the future is, so much so that I spent $100,000 to buy a vehicle like that, but I plug mine in every night. So am I a believer? I am, but I'm a cautious believer because there are some pitfalls along the way. So when I bought this vehicle, I bought a Mustang. I was given a Mustang E for a week to use. And I was going to my daughter's in January in a very cold night, and I went up there. It was 51 kilometers to go up there, and the dash, it shows you what your capacity is, or your range is. So it was exactly 379 kilometers range that I had. I drove up to my daughter's, and I looked, and I thought it didn't add up. And so I went exactly the same route back so that I could see what it went down. So the range went down by 110 kilometers on a 51 kilometer trip. Now there's a reason for that. It was the coldest day in January. It was at night. I had the lights on. I had the heater on, I had the radio on. You do all that stuff. We need to be very careful to recognize that in this climate, in this country, that cold weather has a really, really negative effect on a range and the ability to properly charge it. If you go on the internet and say, how to charge the battery in your car? Well, so you think it's simple. You just plug it in. What they want you to do now is they want you to condition the battery prior to plugging it in a lot of these cars. So what you do is you plug it in and warm the battery so the battery's happy when the charge comes, and then it gets a full charge. So just saying, oh, well, I got an electric car and I'm going to plug it in, it doesn't work. It's not that simple. So there are some roadblocks, as I say, on that. So that's from a personal point of view. When you look at the generation of electricity or the usage here, and I'm going to quote you and I have this here from October the 27th. And the reason I got October the 27th off is because we are not running air conditioning and you're not running heating in your homes, right, at that time. Ontario's demand was just under 15,000 megawatts, and we were generating 13,758 at a time. And that's a fairly flat part of the year, as I say, because you don't have the air conditioning. In California last year, the governor came on and he was at a press conference and the room was 80 degrees and he wore a sweater because he wanted to make Californians think that 80 degrees was cool and that you needed to put a sweater on. And he had a province-wide announcement that he wanted everybody to stop or not charge their cars that day because the weather was so hot and everybody had their air conditioners on. So if you have a choice between having your house air conditioned or your car charged, so which one are you going to choose? I'll tell you what I'm going to choose. I'm going to have my air conditioning on and I'm going to charge my car. That's what's going to happen. The demand is estimated in Ontario to be about 20,000 megawatts, 2025, 2026, okay? So we're already 5,000 megawatts below. As we add more and more and more electric vehicles, right? Guess what? Where's the capacity going to come from? Darlington is going to go off the grid, and correct me, Chair, if I'm wrong, but I think 2026, or they have extended it from 25 to 26, right? They've approved putting in a couple of SMRs like the small modular reactors, which is the future. Let's be honest, it's going to be the future. But the time to get them in is going to be long, right? To get in, to get the capacity, the generating capacity up in Ontario, right? To do that. When Darlington falls off, so we're going to go from 15,000, 3,000 we lose at Darlington. So we're down to 12 and we're going to need 20. SMR is going to take some time to get on. Some of the hydro projects that Ontario are looking at right now, it's at least 10 years to get the new hydroelectric, obviously dams, obviously on. So at least 10 years. That takes us to 2033. And today in Ontario, we have 35 hydro facilities in this province that are 100 years old or older. 35. They don't last forever. So there's going to be challenges on a higher scale. Listen, I love it. And I started by saying, I'm a guy who's driving a hybrid, an EV, and I plug it in every night. But I want us to also be aware that, and Mayor Brown said, you know, when are we going to be all in? Well, I don't know that we're going to be all in and that we should be all in without understanding what the future is going to be and what electricity is going to be available. What point is there in plugging a vehicle in? And up north, they're doing it. They say, well, you got an EV pickup, or you got an EV full pickup truck, right? And then you generate the electricity by having a diesel generator. Now, what have we accomplished by doing? And you know they're doing that. I know you do, Mark.
Absolutely.
Right. So they're doing that today in this province. The generation of electricity, 14% of is by gas at this point. And we have 48% nuclear, but then Darlington falls off and do that. So there's going to be some bigger issues. That's why we need to be very cautious, Chair, and I'm through you. We need to be cautious to understand this isn't Betty Crocker electricity. You don't just add an egg and water and say, well, look at this. We got all these electric vehicles. We need to be very, very careful going forward. It has to be a balance. I'm fully supportive of the hybrid model because that gives us an opportunity to do the right thing, but to be cautious enough to recognize if there are demands that exceed the capacity and you can't charge every one, that we do have the option with that. So I would suggest that going forward. Also, I know because of what you're doing and running the facility graduate, I'm looking forward to spending some time with you on that. We're going to have to deal with the disposal of the batteries, what the cost of it is. I think all of us have heard in the news lately, people go to a dealership and the battery's pooched on their car, and it's $25,000 to replace that battery. We're going to have a real plan. When are they going to come out? What are we going to do? Are we going to keep them for 2 lives, which I would recommend, get rid of the battery and another one come on, as opposed to a gasoline powered vehicle where, the engine's tired, the tranny's tired and all that you're not going to do it. So I think we need a very thorough, long plan, a plan on that. It concerns me with the cost of the facilities, $20 million, not including 22 division. And it's big money. I mean, it's really big money. And because I come from the private sector, it's not much you don't do that is an ROI, right? So you want to have, what's the return on investment? And there's a cost. And to keep saying, whether it be Mayor Brown or Mayor Crombie saying, oh, let's get some money. We'll get it from the feds. We'll get it from the province. At the end of the day, it's our money, right? It's tax money is still our money. It's not free. It's not free money. I'm very supportive of what you're doing. You're progressive, and I think we all have to pitch in. And I think as public servants, and we need to set a high standard. And your presentation was outstanding. So this is not me attacking you. This is me saying to everyone that we need to be very, very cautious and prepared for some pitfalls in the future, particularly on a capacity level. And then the government, I haven't heard a single word from the government. How are they going to pay for all the roads? All the roads are paid for with gasoline tax. Where's all that money going to come from? So they're going to subsidize the vehicles. They're going to pay for the chargers, right? There's no tag on your license plate. You're not going to put any gasoline in the car. I don't know if they thought about that, because that's another very, very big issue. Gasoline tax pays for a lot of health care, by the way. I think we all know that because of the stuff. So I think there's a lot to look at. Your presentation was excellent. I'm all in on hybrids, and I would suggest that we be very, very cautious going forward on the investment, looking at what the capacity restrictions may be, not caused by us, but by the Ontario Hydro. Thank you, Chair. So, thanks for allowing me my rant. Thank you. Yeah.
Just about, and I like your word cautious. I used the exact same word when I was delivering the presentation. We saw what happened in California last summer, where people were told not to charge their cars. Believe me when I say, and I said it at the beginning, it's going to be a long road. There's going to be many, many years that we're going to be having a hybrid fleet, which is, predominantly hybrid or gas vehicles, and starting to test the electric vehicles. We're just looking to the future so that we're not caught off guard when it happens, and we're ready. And I think if I could sum up the presentation, is that we have an opportunity here with our new facilities to future-proof ourselves. Not to say that we're going all in 100%, but when the time comes, when we're comfortable, because we're an emergency service at the end of the day, we'll be ready. And that's all we're looking at is taking advantage of an opportunity where it's cheap to do the infrastructure now, as opposed to 10 years down the road, and then we have to go back in like in our divisions. But we're not touching our existing divisions, just to keep you, the rest assured.
And also to recognize that you're going to be building shifts and changes around vehicles as opposed to officers. I mean, it's going to be the officers as well, but we need to recognize that copper's coming off the road and somebody's coming on, and who's plugging the vehicle in and doing all that. You're going to have some schedules that are such that we don't want an officer hopping in the vehicle at a half charge or a third of a charge, and they're 12-hour shifts. A 12-hour shift is a long time, and in any vehicle, in an all-electric vehicle, I question how long it'll be before we can do it because of the lights and all the other things, which you laid out really well in the report, by the way, and you did a great job on that. But let us, and I'm going to say it again, let us be thoughtful and let us be cautious.
I share the same concerns you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
No problem. Thank you. There are some really genuine concerns. Next is Mayor Crombie, and
I'll
then
keep
we
it
have
brief.
Deputy Debat.
Okay, yeah, just a little one, that's okay. Yeah, Al says he had his politician moment. So just a couple of comments, but I have a different tact of questions, if that's okay. So I just wanted to say that all my vehicles are hybrid as well, all 4 of them, yes. And that the city as well is greening our fleet, whether we're replacing diesel vehicles with electric, or more so we've been trying to test pilot hydrogen battery fuel cells, which is kind of new cutting technology. So that's very exciting as well, what we're doing. I also sit on the Electra board, so this is something that we're very concerned about. If we move unanimous or in tandem or at this all at once towards electric vehicles, what will that look like, and what will that look like in public places as well as condominiums, and what will the surge rate be like in the evening when everyone's at home trying to charge their vehicles, etc. So that's something we're thinking a lot about. And then finally, we should explore if there are provincial subsidies for the changeover to the charging stations. There very well may be as an approach to helping green our environment. So we keep our eyes open for that. There may be, my question was different, and it was just the rationale for the sole source, because obviously we want to ensure that vehicles are Canadian made, Ontario assembled where possible, and there are other companies that do offer hybrid and electric vehicles. I know there's a real backlog right now, having just gone through the procurement process myself, so I think that was just really the interest in.
Sorry, Mayor Crombie, that's the next item. Maybe we can talk at that time.
Oh, I was just combining it all together.
Okay.
Saving time. I'm going to get the first question in for the next item. Thanks. Okay. Well, you've got the idea.
Deputy Depat.
I guess just to close off the presentation, thank you, Mark. And obviously, we are going to be very cautious. We can assure the board and the community that we're not going to compromise the delivery of our service, but also we're going to be very thoughtful and responsible in that regard.
If I could just say one last thing, Chair.
Sure.
I do have my order in for the first electric Corvette that will be coming to Canada, just so that you know, as a car guy, I guess I got to have one of those, so.
Aren't all car manufacturers now being required to stop production of natural gas and diesel fueled vehicles? 35, yeah, 2035 seems to strike a note.
By 20.
Many are going out of production next year on next coming years. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I guess I need a mover and seconder to receive. Obviously, it's you, Mr. Boughton. By Mr. Boughton, seconded by Mayor Crombie. All in favor? This is carried unanimously. Thank you very much for this detailed presentation. Now we will move on to the new business and item number 3.2, purchase of Toyota vehicles direct from Toyota Canada fleet. Chief, would you like to speak to this report?
I believe Deputy Deputation, Director Figueredo can assist with this.
Thank you, Chief, and through the chair. The report before you is a request that the board approve a direct negotiation contract with Toyota Canada for the supply and delivery of 33 Toyota vehicles. The reason for this is we need to replace 33 vehicles that are at the end of their life cycle. The market, as a result of so many things over the last few years, is not great, and we need these vehicles on the road. So we need to replace some. The challenge is many of the other competitors, I shouldn't say competitors, the manufacturers are not able to meet our demands for this purchase. So that's the report that's before you. Subject to any questions directly, I've asked Mark to stick.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just to.
Sorry, Mayor Crombie, we have Mr. Boughton first and then
Oh,
you.
that was mid-sentence.
Yes, and I guess, Mr. Boughton, you already covered quite a bit in the last time, so please.
I'll be kind. It's, by the way, it's age before beauty, Madam Mayor.
Certainly fits this time.
Thank you, Chair. Where is the, where are these vehicles manufactured? And through you, Chair, where are they manufactured, these Toyotas? Do you know what, are they manufactured, some in Canada, US? Where are they manufactured?
Thank you, sir. I have Mark here that I wonder if he has some information on that. But I will say, that having had the conversation with him about the report, that some of these vehicles are manufactured here and some are manufactured elsewhere. So I just don't know exactly where.
The reason that we talked about this a little earlier, obviously, with our two mayors, we have the Chrysler Stellantis plant in Brampton, we have Ford in Oakville, we have General Motors who's back alive in Oshawa, and it's just, you know, the bumper sticker you see in the US, you know, says buy American, the job you save may be your own. You know, so I'm asking if we can support businesses that are here and manufacturing that's here. I think it's to all our benefit.
Thank you, sir. I will say that while we had this planning session on where these vehicles were going to be purchased, much of it came from a needs assessment from the officers on the ground. It came from the fact that they need specific vehicles for specific purposes, and the report before you addresses that.
Thank you. Mayor Crombie, please.
Yeah, no, just on the same vein. So obviously preference for at least some assembly in Ontario. Some, obviously we don't have all OEMs here, but there are other companies. I always try to also, you know, limit my purchases to domestically assembled. And so I have Fords, Toyotas, et cetera, as you have outlined. So if other companies couldn't meet your specs, I totally get it. And of course, you probably send it all out to tender to the procurement at one time and see who can come back with your needs. I was saying that I've just been through the procurement process myself, and it's going to take 6 months to get a hybrid vehicle, largely backlogs, supply chain issues, COVID, et cetera, all kinds of reasons. I did notice that it's a mix, which is great. You've got some hybrid, some gas, some not. The one vehicle that wasn't on your list, Tacoma, I think, is the really big one, the Venza. Well, you didn't need the Venza. You went from Corolla, Camry, RAV4 to Prius and Tacoma, no Venza. Because I just had a Venza, so I like those. They're also Toyotas.
Maybe something that we'll consider for the next
For the
round.
future, okay. Okay, so no, I just wanted to be sure that there was consideration given to local assembly and manufacturing wherever we can. And obviously, you're going to do the right thing and send it out to get a competitive bid, and this is what came back. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. If no further comment, looking for a mover and seconder. Moved by Mr. Boughton, second by Mayor Crombie. All in favor? This is carried. The next item, we have the item number 4, missing person urgent demand reporting 2022. Chief, would you like to speak on this report?
Sure. This, thank you through the chair. This report is required reporting. Just for obvious reasons, we utilize emergency requests for financial phone information when we have a missing person or potentially a homicide investigation, and our requirement is to publicly disclose when and how many times it happens, and that's why you'll see there are, I believe, four from 2022.
Okay, thank you. By Regional Chair Inika, seconded by Mr. Boughton. All in favor? This is carried unanimously. Item number 5 is collection of identifying information in certain circumstances, 2022 annual report. Chief, would you like to speak to this report?
I think Deputy O'Duarty will speak to this.
Hi, good afternoon. Collection of identifying information in certain circumstances, otherwise popularly known as carding, that was reviewed back in 2015 and 2016 by Justice Tulloch, came into effect, reporting mechanism anyways in 2017, and we have reported since then. Section 14 sets out the requirements of what we should report on in relation to the collection. And in 2022, there are 0 reports of the collection of identifying information in certain circumstances. That being said, with the 0 collection, any analysis is moot at this point, and in comparison to years prior, there have also been 0 instances of carding. With that, I'll turn it over for any other questions.
Anthony, if I may, this is, as we've seen over the years since the implementation of the regulations, this is a trend that's seen across a lot of police agencies, where the reporting requirement is still there, but to the extent that all our new officers that have come on in the last several years were never exposed to the previous paradigm, right? So we were seeing a shift, and we know it does cause the community questions at times about, is there compliance with the process? But we, as you know, have a very in-depth mechanism from a records management standpoint and accounting to interactions of our officers on a day-to-day basis. So even though the report is, in any case, 0, it's still, an important piece of legislation for us until it changes, or if it does change it for the organization.
Thank you. If there is any question or comment from the board, if not, looking for a mover and seconder to receive the report by Mr. Boughton, seconded by Chair Unica. All in favor? This is carried unanimously. The next item is automated license plate recognition grant direct negotiation request. Chief, would you or Deputy O'Doherty would like to speak on this?
Thank you, Anthony, please.
Okay, thank you. And through the chair, the automated license plate recognition program that will be implemented by the Peel Regional Police is a fully funded program from the Ontario government. And it allows the Peel Regional Police to install specific hardware within our vehicles, utilize a software that is being utilized within the province and also locally here to scan license plates for various reasons. One of those is to understand the compliance with the renewal of permits which the sticker program has now been discontinued. And also it is used to identify potential criminal activity, life-saving activities, and victims of crime. It has also been successfully used by the OPP, and just recently you may have seen a good example of it, to identify crime vehicles used in crime sprees. It is also a utilized tool for auto theft and carjackings, is to immediately identify, well, in fact, respond and identify those vehicles which have come under those circumstances. Within Peel Regional Police, we utilize a digital evidence management system that we implemented about 2.5 years ago. The proposed automated license plate recognition system would be supplied by Axon, and it is fully integrates into our existing ecosystem of technologies, which also incorporates body-worn camera, our interview rooms, to be implemented in-car camera systems, and many more, in fact. This allows us integration with other police services, other government agencies, and allows us significant cost savings to implement the program. The $6.3 million funded program would allow Peel Regional Police, through the procurement through Axon, to outfit every frontline vehicle that the Peel Regional Police currently utilizes for patrol. The report outlines the cost and the benefits, and we're seeking approval to direct negotiate with Axon for this.
Thank you, Deputy Odawardi. If we have, yes, moved by Chair Unica, seconded by Mayor Crombie. All in favor? This is carried unanimously. And so this concludes the public portion of Peel Police Services Board meeting. Thank you, everyone, the staff, for facilitating this. We will adjourn for 5 minutes or less and then move in camera. Thank you, everyone.